So, hello, hello. Hello, hello. I would like to invite to my guest, Elizabeth Carman. Now, the name might not sound familiar at all to you, and it was a few months ago, it was to me as well. But how I came to find you was I was scrolling on Facebook, and then I saw, I think algorithm posted cosmic babies, babies are cosmic. And I read your excerpt from your book about IVF babies and the memories. And then when I read it, I was just like, oh my God, what is this? It just makes such a perfect sense for me. And then I click on the link that was on Amazon about your book. I click on the link and I got your book and I started reading and I couldn't stop. I couldn't put it down because it was so fascinating. Because in my opinion, you are the first person who actually put a lot of pieces together, a lot of puzzles together that I was actually a lot of women who have babies through IVF, they're looking for answers. They're looking for something. And when someone is like aware or goes to this spiritual path and is open what kids are saying, especially age of 3 and 4, about their past life memories, birth memories, how they chose the parents. A lot of parents, like my parents, dismissed this idea, but a lot of parents nowadays, they just like, oh my God, maybe her or his memories are real. And you put this amazing memories in those book. Show you this one. A lot of my notes here. A lot of my notes and stickers you can see. But so anyway, when I started reading your book, it was just like something has like opened in me, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is really, really amazing. So my kind of a first question to you is how everything started.
Well, it goes back quite a ways. It goes back to 1989 when I took a writing course, how to write a magazine article. And it was just going to be a hobby thing, nothing serious about it. I didn't have any long range goals about anything. And I decided to write about women who are giving birth without pain. I thought that would be an interesting topic to investigate because a friend
Back
had
then it
mentioned.
was amazing. It was something unusual.
Well, I'm interested in the extraordinary. What more can a human do? What more is there for us rather than just stress and strain? What are the heights we can go to? So I found some women to interview, mothers, and I found much more than stories about giving birth. I did find some that had a very blissful cosmic experience. I won't go into that right now, but there are
Mhm.
women who have those kind of ecstatic deliveries. But I also found women that were telling me about meeting their babies before they even conceived them. And I thought this is the most
That's
far
me.
out thing. Yeah, right. You mentioned that. That's a beautiful experience you had. Uh, this is territory I had never read about, heard about, and it just incited me to, take it as far as I could go. So I found women who told me about their preconception communications with the baby while the baby's in the womb or at birth, the whole journey. And then they said, well, I can tell you about my baby and my experiences, but I also have personal memories. I have memories of being born. I have memories of being in the womb. I have memories of being conceived by mommy and daddy. I have memories of being in a spiritual dimension and choosing to come to earth. I said, oh my gosh, this is way beyond anything I expected, but I was so curious. I just kept interviewing women. And my husband, Neil, who's also a co author on this book, we weren't married at the time, and he was in a different location, 1,000 miles away, and we were talking on the phone, and I shared some of these experiences that the women were reporting to me. For this little magazine article I was planning to write, he said, Elizabeth, this is more than a magazine article. This is a book or a series of books. This is an untold cosmic story about who we are, where we're coming from, and all that. And I thought, wow, well, he always has these revelations that come to him. He almost felt like he was going to levitate out of his chair. He was filled with so much vibration. I didn't know if that was a valid prediction, so to speak, but I did know that I was very enthralled with this topic. And so it led to a number of books. And then I did have children's experiences in the books, as well as the mothers reporting the pre-birth communications and their memories. And I had some of the children, but after our second book came out, in 2013, I got inspired by certain stories that mothers were sharing, and I decided to focus on the children, just focus, babies are cosmic,
Mm-hmm.
signs of secret intelligence. That became the title. And uh, I wanted to focus on that because some people have a lot of reservations about believing any of this, and especially coming from an adult who's been exposed to all kinds of media and books and all that. They could be making up stories. So I
Sorry,
decided,
I have a personal story because I remember like when I saw your excerpt from your book, and I put it to one of the groups that I was in called Single Mothers or something, and I was banned within 3 minutes from that group.
wow, wow, yeah.
I was actually shocked because I know a lot of women are looking for like they want to have actually help a baby, and baby has like memories, and especially when the memories are really bad and traumatic, you just want to help your baby.
And there are ways to,
So
yes. We just have to
and
know where to find that. Correct.
mhm,
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yes, there are people with very set beliefs,
there
and
are.
we are going through a paradigm shift, and this information, people, the mothers like yourself are having these experiences, babies coming to them before conception. What is this? We are moving into a higher reality, I think, and these things are becoming more commonplace. And the more information we can get out to people to help them understand that it's okay, this is all right. And it's happened
Mhm.
a long time ago too. It's not
The
just
good thing is that when I went to, I actually heard in like many festivals at the moment in Ireland and in Poland, there are a lot of speakers who talk about the lotus birth. They don't want to give birth, like pregnant women, they don't want to give birth in a hospital. They want to give birth at home and having like the breathing techniques and everything. So it's getting more popular, and it's a good experience for mother and as well for the child.
it can be the peak experience of a woman's life.
Mm.
I have
Yeah,
interviewed women who have said that. It's beyond
yeah.
anything.
So good, good thing, things are changing for good.
Yeah, yeah. This is
They're changing.
a different paradigm about bringing in the spiritual aspect and recognizing what the baby really is.
Because years ago, even when I was in the hospital last year, the doctors were age of like maybe 60 years old. And I actually overheard one conversation that baby doesn't feel anything. Baby is just the brain is not functioning still properly. So after the birth, the brains are developing. And then I actually spoke with one of the midwives, and it's like I asked her, "Did you ever heard about that babies can see like beyond and the eyes are actually not developed fully, but the babies can recognize, they can go in and out. The soul of the baby can get in and out. I remember like the midwife looked at me, it's like, are you on drugs or something? Because I don't believe in those things. And then I came across your book. I was like, oh my God, it actually makes sense. But you are saying, and I wished midwives were told this. But you go to like a medical school if you want to be a nurse, a doctor, or midwife, and you're being told what was, like was like 30, 40 years ago, and you don't really go beyond it. And
Mm.
now we have a lot of like we have access to internet, we have a lot of books, thank God, and things are changing. Yeah, but it's still the old paradigm of, you know, as I told in the book, you have to like follow the medical procedure. So, so okay, so you mentioned what is a baby? So, what is a baby?
Okay, well, we do have a little section in the book with that title, and it's
Yes.
um, featuring the work of a birth researcher in anthropology. Actually, she just interviewed women all over the world in different cultures, and also the doctors and the mothers. And she came up with a model of three um, basic ways of looking at what is a baby, or what is birth, what is the mother, the whole thing. It can be on, we could say, an old way of thinking. I think you and I would agree,
Mm-hmm.
old way of thinking. We could call it, she calls it technocratic model. That's where they look at the
Mm-hmm.
baby as completely unaware, no memory, no senses, an
Mm-hmm.
object, so to speak. Okay. Just a
Yes.
physical object. We can do what we want. The brain is not developed yet. It still has a way to go. So therefore, it doesn't register pain the way adults register. It doesn't, we can do anything we want. We can poke at it. I mean, they don't say these words, but
Yeah,
they
but they
said,
could put like
even
injections or something, yeah, to the
even if
baby.
it feels the pain,
Tubes.
even if it feels the pain, their conclusion is the baby will not remember it. It doesn't have
Exactly.
enough brain
Yes.
capacity. But what we are finding through all these experiences that have been reported by the mothers and the children, the babies have, we all have a central consciousness. We all have a soul. We have a spiritual side. We are mind, body, spirit. We're not just some object at birth. And so we have plenty of evidence in our book showing that there is a different model, not a baby as an object, but a baby as a complete being.
Mm-hmm.
It's not talking yet. It's very small. So we
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, it's very inferior to us. It doesn't have enough brain development. But we have found that babies remember their birth. Uh, they remember being in the womb. They remember being conceived. They remember prior to conception. And some of these children even remember a past life. So they have a memory capacity, and they start talking about it as soon as they have the words. Or they might demonstrate their birth by doing some hand gestures. So one little boy lifted up his mother's skirt and
Just give me one
said,
second, sorry. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah,
little
sorry.
boy lifted up his mother's skirt. I think it was a little girl, lifted up the back end of the mother's skirt and said, there, that's where I came from. So they don't have a lot of words, but just in the beginning, they're little toddlers. They remember coming out of mommy's tummy. They remember where they came from. So it's it's very satisfying to find this perspective, because the limited perspective of looking at baby as an object, the technocratic view, leads to a lack of fulfillment in parenthood, because the babies, in most cases, birth is very traumatizing. The way most people are coming through the birth canal. Um, and it creates more misery for the baby. It's a traumatic baby. The baby will be waking up all night crying or crying a lot during the day. That's not a very pleasant experience for the parents to deal with. The baby can't
It's
communicate.
exhausting.
Yeah, yeah.
Exhausting.
So, so, so we don't want that. We want to have more fulfillment in our parenthood role. We want to have the child to be living more of its potential, not to be have layers and layers of trauma laid upon it right from the time it's born.
Hmm.
Does that
Hmm.
answer a little bit about how I'm looking at babies? Or as Dr. Robbie Davis Floyd, who wrote that little piece that we're putting in the book, she talked about the technocratic, the humanistic, which recognizes the baby has some emotional needs, it has human needs. And so at that stage, the hospitals are putting the baby on the mother right after birth. They're not separating it and taking it away. And that separation is very difficult for the baby.
Hmm.
And then
I heard that
the,
back in the 70s, what they did in Poland was because a lot of my friends, they were born around the late 70s, and during that time, or even during COVID, they did the same. And there was a girl that I met a few years ago, and she said she was put in a different ward after the birth, separated from mom for 3 days. And when a mom took her home, she was looking for mom, and she has this obsession of trauma of rejection. It was really, really deep in her. And then when I was talking to one of my cousin like last year, she said they're doing 2000. Her son was born in 2020. He's 5, almost 6 now. And when they diagnose if the baby has COVID or not. So she said they put him in a different ward in an incubator for a week or even more. So for baby, it's huge. For mother as well. And she said, "Oh, my baby, it's boy is fine." It's like I wanted to tell her it's not. He's not fine. He's not fine. He will repeat the pattern, but sometimes he can tell this to people, sometimes he cannot. But I know my baby was, when she was born prematurely, she was put in the incubator for 3 weeks. And I
oh,
went to see her every day. But when she had like so many tubes around, because she was really tiny. And when I tried to touch her for the first time, she was afraid.
oh, they will be. There's that impression that any touch is
It's
stay away from
painful.
me. Their first experience with touch is pain. They've
Yeah,
had the experience
yeah.
of pain. You're saying so many things, and I'm thinking of so many ways to respond, and you're going on. But
No,
um,
because I wanted to put so much into this video,
let
but
me
I just have so
catch
many
up with what.
questions as well.
Let me just let me catch up with what one thing you were saying. You were talking about the effect of the separation and the mother, or
Mm,
was it a midwife or a mother saying no, that didn't have any effect. Well, here is one story that comes to mind where this shows up when a mother who had the experience where the baby was separated at birth due to some complications and the baby needed care and she was also needing care, so they couldn't be together. And when she started taking the little boy to school and dropping him off at, it was like kindergarten, the
mhm.
first time he separated from mother, he would have a complete emotional breakdown and be
Oh,
crying,
wow.
crying and crying. She didn't know what to do with this child, why she can't bring him to school without him just completely melting down. Well, she discovered at some point in learning about prenatal experiences and what happens at birth. And she went to a seminar and learned about the effect of separation on the child. And the teacher that was leading that workshop explained that having an authentic, compassionate conversation with the child about what really happened will have a profound healing effect on any traumatic events that have happened at birth. So she reflected on that and realized that that birth had made a deep impression on her little son. So she sat him down and explained about his birth and that she wanted to be with him, and because of the circumstances they couldn't be together and she felt so bad about it, and just speaking from her heart about what
Mm-hmm.
she really felt. And the little boy said, oh, and then he reflected on the school situation, because I guess she brought that up, leaving him, and he was crying. Oh, I didn't think you'd ever come back. That's the impression he had from birth. And so he thought, when mommy's gone, I won't see her again, because that's happened to me in the past. But this
Yeah,
conversation of telling the true story in this gentle, kind way, uh, there were no problems after that. Just a complete one conversation, and the whole thing was resolved. So
yeah,
that's the
that's really
beautiful thing.
amazing.
The beautiful thing is it's never too early to talk to the children about these things, and it's never too late. So even in adulthood, some mothers have sat down with a child, that an adult child at that point, that maybe there's been not a deep connection, some problem, and it gets resolved by going back and explaining some of these things like this. So it's a simple type of therapy that's very effective.
It's good. So, what kind of memories do children have? Babies have?
Okay, well, they are remembering, they are recording everything. uh, it's just fantastic to understand, because it's validating that they are more than some brain matter that hasn't fully developed yet. They have a consciousness, an innate consciousness. That's part of being human. We are spiritual beings. We could say we have a psyche, we have a soul. So it's possible to have these experiences. Let me see my notes here, what I picked out for some of these things.
Because you wrote in your book that children have memories during the birth,
Yes.
moment of conception, past life memories. There's some in your book that they saw, I would say, future parents from above. It's always from above, and they're just saying it. I don't remember the number five,
Well, it's
but
the
there
whole
was like
stage. Just think of the whole stage. Preconception, before conception
yes,
happens.
hmm
Then conception happens, memory of that. Then
yes,
there's womb time, memory of that. Then there's birth
yes.
time. And some of them remember before any of that, and they remember the past lives. They remember, not only choosing mommy and daddy in the preconception phase, but they remember a past life. Does
They
that
do.
make sense? Yeah.
That yeah, that makes sense. I remember there was like a story of a girl, and she had a girl age of I think 3 or 4, and the girl said, "Yes, I remember. I remember when I came down because you were feeling so sad, and you were sad all the time, and you missed me, and that's why I came down. So you won't be so sad anymore." It's a
There
really
are
beautiful memory.
there are beautiful stories of that. It's amazing what the children recall, and they're coming to help mommy with for some reason, or to be with mommy, or uh, it it's those are the preconception memories. Yeah, they're beautiful. Um,
And
it's very
they also
healing for the mother-child relationship to realize this was not some accident that happened. This is not just some cells growing in my womb. There's a consciousness connected. There's a baby, and these children are saying, I chose you, mommy. I picked you out.
there was
I
also a beautiful, yeah, there was also a beautiful story of a girl who she was floating above one woman, and she just got married. And when she was like age of 3, 4, maybe 5, she said, "I saw you when you got married," and So the mom actually couldn't, you couldn't be there, but little girl described in details the wedding, who was there. I was like, you married to daddy, and I was there, and the cake was this and this flavor, and he was so happy. And it's just amazing that we start discovering this because just like you said, like children are just like a bunch of like cells that are just more than that. And I remember, like I think you wrote in your book that back in the maybe 50s or 60s, children that were born babies, even premature babies, doctors did open heart surgery without anesthesia because they were convinced that the baby doesn't feel a thing. And later on in life, they had a trauma. They had problems in life, and they couldn't understand why. And then they went to hypnosis and they saw this surgery that was done like on them and without any like painkillers or nothing, anesthesia. And we are just like, I cannot even imagine like things are being done back in the 50s or 60s, and now we have like more knowledge about this, which is really amazing.
It takes a while for
And
that knowledge and research to reach all levels of society, though.
yeah, so I think it's great that we live in a times then we acknowledge that the baby are just living beings and that they have this amazing, there's a lot of kids are born with that clairvoyant and with clear hearing or what's the other one? They just have the sixth sense that highly developed. And we put them in the school, but they have this magical abilities or they have dreams about future and we are told, oh, actually it's just a dream. Or some of them they have even dreams about the trauma of birth and then just like we just brush it off and just like, oh, nothing happened, you know? It's just a dream. So how to prevent trauma? Do you have any like tips how to do it? Because I know the birth process is traumatic for a child and even for mother as well. But and when I speak with women who even have grandchildren, then they say like, I wish I had done a lot of things much differently, or I wish I could seek help, but I couldn't, there was no one. And then the child is traumatized and they have this feeling of guilty, like I wish I could do something,
Well, we're
you
always
know?
doing the best we can with the knowledge we have, and we should not feel guilty about it. And then when we learn more information, we do better. And we can, as I said, it's never too late to heal these things. Sitting down and talking to a child about something that happened. Some parents like to don't want to mention what happened at birth. And maybe it was very traumatic. And they just, on the child's birthday, oh, we were so happy that day and we welcomed you and it was wonderful and you had a beautiful birth. That's just, covering up the true reality. They
Yeah,
can't tell
exactly.
what happened. Like one little boy, he, he was posterior. It was a very difficult birth. He was in the NICU, I believe, for a while after that. And the mother had always told him in pretty terms what birth was like. And then she became enlightened about pre-birth psychology and what happens
Mm-hmm.
at the time of birth. She became, that whole field opened up for her. And so she decided to sit down with her little son and tell him what really happened and that it was very difficult. And he had cried and cried and she wished she could have been with him. But she had other things that were happening in her body and the doctors had to help her with that. So she was just laying out the truth to the little boy. And as the little boy heard it, he says, yeah, baby was backwards. And she said, what? What did you say? Oh, nothing. So the memory popped in and then it just went out. And then she said, yes, you're right. The baby was backwards. The baby was posterior. and it made it very difficult to come out, and you had a big crease on your forehead, and you cried and cried. And so anyway, the whole story was told very simply to the child, I think 4 or 5 year old child. And when they got home, they were actually driving in the car, and the child was in the car seat in the back, and they were having this conversation under those circumstances. And they got home, and the mother immediately noticed what's happening. Something feels different in the home, because her son was quiet for a change and spoke quietly. And he had this habit, or he had this behavioral problem where he spoke very loudly all the time, almost shouting. She said that she couldn't take him to a public place because it would be bothering other people. He would be talking so loud. They'd brought him to an ear specialist. Maybe he can't hear and he's speaking loud. They brought him to
Mm-hmm.
behavioral training. Nothing was working. But after this conversation, he never spoke loud again. And that's because he was so traumatized in that birth and crying, trying to get somebody to hear him, crying loud, loud, loud for hours, she said. And now he understood the story. He wasn't being abandoned. He wasn't being rejected by his mother. He was loved. So all the babies don't understand what these separations are. And they have a horrible, distinctive cry when they're expressing this emotion. It's very heart-wrenching to hear. So does that give a little bit more context to
Yes,
this?
yes, yes. I actually have one question because birth is also an amazing experience, but for a lot, not for some women, it's very traumatic, and especially when they have a twin. And sometimes happens that the twin vanishes or dies during the birth. And there's one chapter in your book, well, one story, and there was the scan was done, and there was I think it was two boys or two girls, I don't remember. And on the scan, there was a nurse was saying saw that one was about because there's a weak heart or something like that. So one of the twins gave a kiss to the other one because she or he knew that she's gonna die.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it's a lot of stories like this, and then I also read like maybe it's not in your book, but there was also a story what especially when one twin dies during the birth, and that they had a lot of lifetimes together as partners, as twins, and in this lifetime, one of them said, "Well, I'm sorry, but you have to go separate ways." And learn how to be independent. So the other baby actually sacrificed their life so the other could live. I know it's a really trauma for a lot of parents, and maybe you can say something about this. I know.
That last story is not from our book, the one you mentioned about.
No, no, but it's like the
Right, yeah,
stories of
yeah,
vanishing, yeah,
okay.
vanishing.
Vanishing twin. Yeah. Yeah, the babies
I
are
have a lot
very.
of
There's the beautiful story that comes to mind about the twins, and it became famous. It was in national publicity here in the United States, and it's the hugging twins, where one of the twins
yes,
was not doing well and probably not going to make it, and the other twin was doing okay. And a nurse who was aware of this bigger picture of how babies are human beings, and maybe if we put them together in the same crib, they're going to be okay. And so she did that, and the one stronger twin took its arm and put it around its twin. And as soon as that happened, everything shifted. You know, they were doing all the monitoring. Everything shifted to show a positive sign that the baby is going in the other direction. It's not going downhill. It's gaining its life back. And it's the baby made it. And it's a beautiful story that happened here in the United States,
Yeah, that's
because
a
some nurse thought out
some
of the box.
nurse.
Yeah, yeah. She went out of the guidelines. That was not part of their guidelines in that hospital to do that. The babies were separated, but she remembered
Yeah.
some stories from. She was a European nurse that came over here.
I
So she's
I
remembering.
also heard a story that because back then when I was born, like they put the mom in a separate rooms, the mom in separate rooms, the baby in a cot in a separate room. And there was a story, I think it was you mentioned in one of the book that it was a baby who was dying, and one of the nurses, or maybe it was a doctor, said like, and it was about like the baby was about to die, and one of the nurses said, "Why don't you put it in mom's chest?" And baby start breathing. I said,
Yeah.
putting on weight,
Mhm.
and the doctors were actually shocked. But contact with mom, because this is what baby wants, contact with mom. It's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. It's called skin to skin care, or
Yes.
kangaroo care.
Kangaroo.
It was
Yes.
first done on premature babies to help them, stabilize, to have close contact with mother. But then they realized it was so magnificent, all the positive changes that were happening. Let's do it with all the babies. So some hospitals do that. There's some hospitals that call it the sacred hour right after birth. They don't rush the baby off and weigh it and measure it and do all those things. They immediately put the baby on the mother, and she holds the baby, and it's um, a beautiful experience for the mother. It engenders all kinds of motherly feelings. All kinds of positive hormones are generated in the mother's body, very healing for the baby. So that sacred hour is a way to we could say, if there has been some trauma during the birth, this is going to help heal that almost quick, instantaneously by
Yeah.
having that. It seems so simple, but it's real, and it's been documented.
Well, I think that's everything what we covered for today.
Okay. Okay.
You want to add something just for the end because we have almost 1 hour. And do you
Oh,
want to say something? Because I know your book is available on Amazon. I'm gonna put it in a description, the link to your book.
yes.
So
And
if someone is interested, so it can click and buy on Amazon as well. But do
yes.
you want to say like a close,
Well,
like a little?
yeah, there's plenty of stories to entice people to want to read more and to come on the Babies Are Cosmic Facebook page. And you'll see many little short stories all throughout. And you'll also, um, we have a website, babiesarecosmic.com, also, where you have
Mm-hmm.
more information. So you can go beyond this interview. There is so much to cover. We didn't get through half of what
Just
I.
like few drops
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah. So
information.
people have a chance to explore on their own now, and um, also there's some YouTubes. I have Journey of the Soul YouTube channel, and on there's some of the stories from the book, and I read some of the stories, tell some of the stories. So there's different ways that people can get this information. Reading the book is the most comprehensive way, because there's so many different facets to what we're talking about here. The baby's senses, their clairvoyant sensing, their clairvoyant sensing in the womb, their telepathy, their telepathic sensing, their pain sensing, their learning, their personality. All these different things are discussed in the book, with stories from doctors, midwives, from the mothers, from the babies, the children themselves. So we cover it. It's as broad as I could make it, and and put it into a book form.
I remember when I was pregnant and I had to go to hospital see if it's gonna be a boy or girl. And so I'm lying on this bed and they put like a scan on me, this gel and then scan. It was like a bit cold. And I started actually laughing because it was like actually ticklish. And then I actually could see on my baby's face when I started laughing, she was laughing too.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes,
she was,
yes,
and the nurse looked at me, oh my God, the baby is laughing, but just
yeah,
smile again. And it was just so, it's nice to see that.
yes. They're waving. Um, some in some places they encourage the siblings to come with mother when she has this ultrasound, and that the siblings can talk to the baby, and the baby just lightens up, and oh, I'm your brother, I'm can't wait to meet you, and I'm your sister, and they just have little conversations, and the babies are responding on the ultrasound, laughing and smiling, and they're completely aware of what's going on there.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for today, and I hope it's not the last recording. It's just our first one. Anyway, I'd like to thank you so much. I know it took us forever to meet up, but we did it, and it's done. And so thank you so much for today, and I thank you for your time and the knowledge. And I am looking forward to see you next time. Thank you,
Okay.
Elizabeth.
Well, thank
Thank
you for
you.
the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye now.